Hi, everyone. Welcome to Snarky with Mike Feeney. I'm your host, Wayne Brady. Why am I Wayne Brady? Because I got nothing. So we're going to play a little game of Whose Line Is It Anyway and try and figure out how we make this a whole goddamn hour. Thank you for being here. We're back in studio with Nicole. Nicole's on the ones and twos. How you feeling, Nicole?
Feeling good. I'm ready to see how this all turns out.
Me as well. And this is how I know just from the jump that we're like, who knows how this is going to go. We have, I've made up a drink for this one because I was like, we can't just have, oh no, I just spilled some of it. We can't just have, a part of me wanted to suck the drink from the table. You ever do that in college? You spill a little bit and you go, no, and try and suck it up from there. Those people all have died of HPV. So I made up this drink, which we'll see how it goes. I think it's pretty delicious. It's kind of, it looks like the classic margarita, but alas, it is not. What we have for you today is Jamaican dark rum, Appleton Estate. We got Cocoa Mania coconut rum. We got lime juice. We got agave nectar. We got, what else did I put in it? Oh, a little bit of that lime, Tropicana, coconut combination, mixture combo. And the result is a very delicious, very refreshing, very tropical sort of drink. Nicole, what do you think?
It's great. I also think we should take a second to visit what we were going to drink before this.
Yes, we were going to drink borderline month-old Coquito because Nicole wasn't here when Erica made the batches of Coquito, and Erica was like, I'll leave some Coquito before we go down to Virginia. I'll leave some here for us so that we can have some when we come back. And then we promptly left after to go and do Mohegan Sun. And then I immediately caught COVID. So we haven't drank any of it. And then I found this whole thing and I was like, oh my God, it still smells good. It smells fine. And Nicole was very hesitant, rightfully so, I suppose. And now we pivoted. So instead of drinking month-old milk drinks, we are drinking a nice, delicious little sort of rum thing. And I gotta be honest, this might be in the rotation. I don't know how you feel. I feel bad. I never feel like you will tell me the truth about what you feel about the drinks before I make them. And I feel like that's a testament to both your open-mindedness and your anxiety.
Yeah, 100%, for sure. I was also concerned when you wanted to drink the Coquito that you said you wanted something to perk you up, and that's like the heaviest drink of all time.
But there's like sugar in it, you know what I mean? It's like having a milkshake. It's like either you're gonna get high and you're gonna get low, and then the audience will have to suffer the consequences of that. I guess. I don't know. It's fucking. It is what it is. So again, we're gonna be flying by the seat of our pants here. I have very few things to talk about, but I do have some sort of like nostalgic things, and I would love for Nicole, think about some quirky things that you had at your house growing up. Just kind of chew on that, and I'll get into mine, and maybe it'll jar something for you. Because I just thought about some of the things that we did and had as kids, and it's so bizarre to me. Like, for instance, we lined our like driveway, like a little moat, both sides of our driveway, and we surrounded our above ground pool with tiny, bright white, decorative rocks. Like we had rocks across the driveway was paved, and then on both sides were like these rock moats, and then around the pool were these rock things. Like I say decorative, they were just rocks, but in a formation. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. I don't know why we did that. Like, first off, rocks can never be cleaned. You know what I mean? Like, you're not power washing all those hundreds and hundreds of rocks, not when they're that small. And, you can't power wash them. And they're laying in dirt. You know what I mean? They're laying in the dirt, so when it rains, the mud comes up. And then when the mud goes back down, they're a little bit stained. Like, they're never going to look as nice. And then, obviously, I think it's maybe one of the worst exterior decorating decisions of the 20th century when we decided as a society we should do little rocks all around the place as like a good look. Because I used to accidentally run over them with a lawnmower because they wouldn't stay all in the perfect place they were supposed to be. Someone steps on them, a few go into the grass, then you go to mow the lawn. And I don't know if you've ever had 20 jagged rocks get launched at warp speed into your shin a half a foot away. But I still have dents. I still have dents in my shin bone from them. And my dad would this is the best part. I would run over a rock. It would slam into me. I would lay on the ground in fetal position, rocking back and forth in pure agony. And my dad would just yell out, "Don't run over the rocks. You're going to chip the blade." You know, he would just immediately think he'd worried about the lawnmower blade and its integrity if I was running over rocks. Which, by the way, who's running over rocks on purpose? Nobody, you know? So good to know. It's like, I'll check on the blade and then I'll, you know, once I stop bleeding out, and then I'll figure it out. And then even once you get out of the pool, it's like you jump out of the pool, you land on a rock, the point part goes right into the soft spot of your heel. You know, it's just it's hell. Did you have anything like that growing up, Nicole? Or any sort of weird, like, decorative feature of your home that now looking back might be a little odd?
We did have the rocks as well. We had like a classic like circle above ground pool, which for some reason
Same with me.
Yeah, I don't know, but what's the point of having the rocks around it? So the grass doesn't get wet? I mean,
I think maybe the grass won't grow in that area, so you got to do something. But put like a deck there or something. Like, just rocks are just not. They're not great, you know? Like they look good for the first summer, I guess. But then after that, once weather gets to them, what are you going to replace all those rocks? You're not doing that.
yeah, plus we had to pull weeds out of the rocks like every summer, and it was just miserable.
Yeah, the weeds are going out of the rock. It's not a good, and some people, I think we did this too around the pool. We laid like kind of like this black net down around the moat and then put the rocks on top of that as a way of curbing the things. But then the little black webbing gets all frayed and ripped and pulled off, and then that looks like shit. Eventually, you're gonna look like just a true white trash household. So it's not good, but I don't know. And did you have how many garages did you have as a kid? 1 car, 2 car, no car?
We had 2, but one side was normally like filled with shit,
Yes.
and one was a car.
Now that's the sign of a person I can relate to, because we had a 1-car garage that has never in my entire life had a car in it. It was always filled. I mean, I'm talking from ground to ceiling, filled with shit, like a storage unit. It was just filled with shit. I set my drums up in there, and my friends would like literally move piles of shit to the side, and then we would have just enough area for like a guitarist, a bassist, a singer, and my drums to be. And we would film, like, my friends that would want to come hang out would literally, this isn't a joke, scale parts of all of the shit, like all of the boxes and everything. They would scale the boxes and lay across them like 6 feet in the air just to, as a viewing party kind of a thing, and just to hang out while we were jamming. But it was, it's so crazy to me when someone has like a empty garage that's like clean and it has nothing in it except their car. It's like, where do you put all your stuff? Where do you put it? Not in the garage? Then where? And also, this is strange, and people don't ever believe me when I say this. We had an attic. I never went in it, but we sold the house now. We don't live there. My mom and dad haven't lived there in 15 years, but I was never once my entire life in our attic, because it was kind of like it was like a crawl space attic. Like, you would have to go through the one of the bedroom's closets and move a thing, and in order to get up there. And apparently, like, I don't know, one time someone told me there were squirrels up there, and it freaked me out, and I just didn't want to like put my head up and then get bit and attacked by them. Pretty good squirrel noise. And so I never went up there in my life. So I have no idea what our attic looked like. It was probably just full of asbestos and loose fiberglass or whatever. And then we also didn't have a basement, which people now are like, of course you had a basement. You just didn't know about it. No, we didn't have a basement. I don't know if that's like not a way to build a house without a foundation of a basement, but did you have a basement?
We had like a half-finished basement, so part of it had like carpet and walls, and the other part was like not that. So yeah, that was just like the lair for the GameCube. And
yeah, I'm so jealous of people that had basements. It's like, bro, what I would do with a fucking basement, if I had a house, I would basement it up, dude. You wouldn't even people are like, I have an unfinished basement. Finish it. Go finish it. What are you waiting for? You own it. Get in there. Lay some shit down. I understand you got to be worried about, like, you know, if it floods or something like that and the mold smells. Throw some fucking cool ass shit down there. Put some pillows, put some couches, some TVs. Do all that cool shit, man. Make it a fun ass basement, dude. Basement parties, that's where it's at. I wish if I had a basement, I would absolutely have been one of those kids that moved into the basement at like 15 in anger. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going to the basement and I'm going to do stuff down there and I'm going to fucking just, I don't know, finger girls and jerk off. I don't know. Like, what else is there to do in the basement? Any girl I ever hooked up with, we were in a basement. You know what I mean? Like, a basement is a way to get laid. It's a sex dungeon. That's what every basement is. If you have a child, it's eventually a place. I feel like my family had a basement and then filled it. And they were like, we don't want this kid to get laid until, right before college. But I got it. American Pie style. So I don't know. That was a weird thing. So you had the half-finished basement. Very strange. I've heard of the unfinished. I've heard of the finished. Never heard of the half-finished. And what was the other half? Just like cold cement and pipes?
There was tile, but that was about it. But I always thought the unfinished basements were the coolest ones. Like, they just seemed so edgy.
Edgy? Go ahead.
I don't know. I had one of my friends growing up when I was very young.
You've absolutely been fingered in an unfinished basement. There's no way.
What about it? Why do you think they're the coolest ones?
They were just so edgy, I couldn't help but give it up.
No, one of my girlfriends growing up, she had a cool ass hand painted Pink Floyd mural in her basement and a Nintendo 64 and all this cool stuff. But
that's so awesome.
It was just, it felt it felt cooler that
that's
way.
But that's unfinished basement. Like you're still saying you got murals, you got video games down there. Like that to me sounds finished. Like maybe it's not it doesn't have full carpeting and stuff, but even things like that where it seems like it doesn't exist. It's like international waters, You're like, this isn't part of the house where I'm in my bedroom and I have to keep the door open and my parents are paying attention. It's like the basement's that's where you can smoke pot down there. You can drink, sneak alcohol, hang out with your friends, get fingered. It's just it's a finger factory. That's what it is in the thing. If you have a basement right now and you have kids, they're just blasting cherry poppin' daddies because that's what's going on down there. You remember them from the 90s? Cherry Poppin' Daddies? I just realized what that meant. That's disgusting. I listened to that in 6th grade. Great. Cherry Poppin' Daddies, too. Daddies is a strange moniker to throw on your cherry poppin', ventures. You're a daddy? Or is it maybe it's the zaddy kind of a thing where it's an older man kind of. Either way, it's got weird connotations, It makes sense. What was the song? Can you look up the song Cherry Poppin' Daddy sang? I'm going to guess it was the Jump and Jive and Then You Wail. Jump and Jive and Then You Wail Away. Remember that song? That was when swing was popular.
No, but what am I trying to find for you for this?
Cherry Poppin' Daddies. What was their? They had one hit. What was their one hit?
They
had another song. So who's Jump, Jive and Wail? Was that Brian?
Zoot Suit Riot?
Zoot Suit Riot. Riot, throw back a bottle of beer. You remember that song, Nicole? Or were you 3?
Probably not. Oh, definitely not Born.
Not Born?
I don't think so. Oh, wait, no. This was...
You never heard that song? Zoot Riot.
No, I've heard that one. I just, did not know what you were talking about for the past 5 minutes with Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
You thought I was just saying
getting your cherry
things?
Popped in a basement.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't sure what was happening there.
Well, that was the bridge. Okay. All right.
Wait, can we circle back to your band really quick? What was your band name?
My band's name was Zen because we looked up synonyms for Nirvana, and that was the closest one that sounded cool. So we were called Zen, and we played a lot of mostly cover songs. And here's the problem with Zen. This is why we never really got off the ground, is because anytime we had a couple of songs, we would do a lot of covers. So we played In Bloom by Nirvana. We had a AC/DC medley that we made, which was awesome. It was a 5-minute mashup of all the AC/DC songs. And the problem was we didn't have we would come up with riffs and drum beats to them, but we were missing the front man. We had a guy who was in my school that could sing, but we didn't really have that. We needed the brooding, we needed the brooding, angry, I'm gonna come up with some dark lyrics thing. Well, we had, he was this guy, he was great. His name was Kevin. He was like a, somewhat overweight, for sure, gay man, which was very progressive of us. And he was great. He was a friend of mine, and he could sing. He had killer pipes. He could hit he could hit the AC/DC high notes and stuff. So we were like, get in here. And he was very good, but he didn't really he more was just like, tell me what to sing and I'll fucking sing it, which he could, but he wasn't much of I wrote this song about an ex, whatever it was. So he didn't really bring a lot to the table with that. But I was very impressed with the grooves my little guitarist would come up with. But then we would end up, I remember so many times being in practice, being like, all right, guys, let's come up with something. And then my guitarist just doing his own it might as well have been if all of us had headphones on and we're doing our own thing, because it was like herding cats. We'd be like, guys, come on, let's play this thing. And then I would start laying out a beat, and then they would just fucking start doing this, and then it would quickly get off topic, and then I would stop, and the bassist would stop, and the guitarist would just keep going, and you're like, all right, okay, enough. And it's like, man, if that was foreshadowing of what it would have been to be on the road, I think that's what made me want to be a comedian. Is I always wanted to be in a band so badly, and then you got to see what it's like being in a band, because it's not just oh, so all of us showed up today with 4 original songs we're all going to try out and come up with together. No, it's just instead just guys being like, check this out. And then you being like, can you stop? Can you stop playing? Can you stop playing for a second? I'm trying to talk to you. Can you stop? And they're looking at you while still playing, and you go, just stop fucking playing for a goddamn second. I'm going to break the guitar over your head. And then eventually we just kind of, we lost that love and feeling, I guess it was. And then once it became like a job, we were like, I'm over it, which was such a bummer, because I really think, maybe not that band in particularly, but I feel like I really would have loved being in a band with my friends at a young age, in the, your late teens, early 20s, traveling in a fucking shitty, dirty van for no money across the country. Because now I do that in stand-up, and that's terrible, because I do it alone. At least with, because that was where I went from. I went from drums. Initially, I go, I want to be a rock star. Every boy is like, I want to be a rock star or an athlete. And I was like, I'm never going to be an athlete. I want to be a rock star. I want to be the front man of a rock and roll group. And then I go, well, I can't sing. So I'll play drums. And drums is fun. And that's you could be like Animal and the Muppets. It's a very good time. Drummers get laid. Drumming's the best. So I'll just drum. So I started doing the drums. Plus all of my friends played guitar as a kid. I start playing drums. I'm like, hell yeah. Then I go to college. College, you can't bring drums. You can't bring a full drum set with you to college. You'll get killed by everybody, and your roommates will go nuts. So I couldn't bring them, so I couldn't practice. So then I go, you know what? I'll teach myself bass, because bass is the closest to drums in terms of rhythm section. So I bought a bass. I learned down on the corner, and then promptly stopped playing the bass, because bass sucks. All right. Every band needs a bassist, and I'm grateful for you as a bassist, but the bass is it's the worst standalone instrument that exists. At least with drums, you could be you can entertain people with just the drum. Guitar, you don't need anything else. You can entertain people. Piano, violin, saxophone, whatever it is, it's a standalone instrument. Bass is not a standalone instrument. You can't just stand there and go, hey guys, check this out. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. All right, now there's 45 seconds until I play again, to just kind of feel what music would be playing here. And then, boom, boom, diddly, boom, boom. There's just nothing, unless you're Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, there's nothing else. It's not exciting, It's not an exciting bit. So I stopped playing bass, and then eventually I go, I'll just buy a guitar. So then I bought that electric guitar, and I started teaching myself, and I taught myself some chords and some and all that stuff. And then I bought an acoustic because I like that. And I started learning more chords and playing more songs and gaining some confidence. And then I had to try and bar chord, and I didn't have the finger strength, and I somewhat gave up. So I didn't give up on guitar. I have hit a wall in my learning in guitar, and I need guitar lessons is what I need. I just need to take guitar lessons, and I'll be good. But I'll be honest with you, as good as guitar feels, I never have the confidence that I do in drums. And I haven't played drums now in a few years. I mean, probably 4 years since I played drums, and I miss it. I miss drums all the time. I fucking love playing drums. I love listening to music with great drums. I'm always air drumming. And eventually, this isn't a joke, but it does tie it all together. My goal is to eventually get a house with a fucking finished ass basement and then have my drum set down there, have the guitars down there, put the fucking this computer down there and do all that shit and just have a full blown, not like a studio, but just like a place where you can jam. Because it's like, even if I had a drum set right now, I can't play that in Queens in an apartment building with neighbors and paper thin walls. Like you can't play drums unless you have those electric drum kits, but the electric doesn't hit it doesn't give you the tactile feedback you want. And drums sound different no matter where on the drum you hit. So, but on electric, it just all sounds the same. And they're like $1,400 and they're huge. I don't know. It's not, the electric drums not for me, but your boyfriend has electric drums, doesn't he?
I don't know the difference between any of them. He has regular ones, but they do have a show in a couple weeks, shameless plug. If you want to come hijack the drums, I'm sure they would be thrilled.
Are they missing? Is this like the movie The Rocker with Dwight Schrute from Rainn Wilson from The Office, where they need somebody and he fills in with their teenagers and then he becomes part of the band and realizing going through a midlife crisis, he should become the rocker he always wanted to be, and then he takes it too seriously and the kids are like, we're just trying to have fun, and then he eventually torpedoes the band because of his ego, but then in the end he realizes, you know what, you kids are doing it and I had my shot and I missed it, which is also the same exact plot of School of Rock. Is that what's happening?
I mean, somewhat, but I can also relay that, most drummers would say their inspiration's probably like Travis Barker or Dave Grohl, and I can tell them that your inspiration was Animal from the Muppets, which I think will like hold a lot of weight.
Dave Grohl was huge because Dave Grohl would beat, like he literally would just break so many drums and drumsticks because he didn't know how to play. He just played angry, which is what I loved. You get so much aggression out and you're sweating and just beating the shit out of the drums. Travis Barker, one of the most talented drummers in the last 30 years. However, I could never play even at my best, wasn't even a quarter of the drummer he is. I mean, he is just, I'm not good with the fast, like punk music and stuff like that. I did a lot of like double bass and all that kind of stuff, but it just was, it wasn't meant to be. I was meant to fucking talk in a room with one other person into a camera for YouTube. That was my goal. Maybe I'll do a drumming podcast where I just lay down a beat while I talk the whole time. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know. Can't do it. But I miss those drums. Here's another thing. Speaking of childhood stuff that's interesting to me. My mom recently was like going through, cleaning her house and stuff. And she goes, are you ever she was not threatening. I think she did throw out my yearbooks. And she goes, are you ever going to read these things? She said that about yearbooks, where it's like it's a Hemingway, where you're like, oh yeah, can't wait to go reread that gripping novel again. The whole point of yearbooks is to look at once every 20 years. That's the whole point of getting a yearbook, is you buy it, you put it on the shelf, you go back in 20 years, you go, oh wow, look at this person, this pimple-faced loser, and then you close it, and then that's all it is. And that's what yearbooks are. If you're looking at a yearbook more than once every 20 years, you live with so many cats. You know what I mean? Like you live alone and there's so many cats and they're going to eat you when you die alone. Because it's too much. And I don't know what it is, my mom, but just the way that she was like, are you ever going to read these, made me laugh so hard thinking about, like, I picture someone reading a yearbook from cover to cover, just from the freshman class all the way until the last blank pages that were all of my friends wrote things that have not aged well, in terms of society. I mean, half of the things my friends wrote in my yearbook, I couldn't say out loud if I was in a echoless chamber, So I don't know. Do you still have your yearbooks?
I do, and this is something I think about so much because I have a visceral memory of writing a humiliating letter in my high school boyfriend's yearbook, and if he has seen it anytime within the past like 10 years, it makes me want to like pass on.
Do you remember some of the specifics of what you said?
Oh yeah, about like us spending our life together and like our family and all that stuff.
Let me ask you, I have so many questions now. So where in the yearbook did you go, like, because you usually in the yearbooks they have front blank pages, back blank pages, black blank pages. And now the front blank pages were prime real estate, you know? And then there was always some asshole who did the diagonal signing where they just took up more and more. They started in the top left corner, and then by the time they were done, they took up half the page. I assume you did something like that because you wanted to kind of brand your man. It's like, he's my guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was probably like the inside cover for like a page to 2 pages.
2 pages?
It was insanity. This was also clarification, the same person that punched me in the face, or excuse me, that I punched in the face.
How long after you wrote that did you punch him in the face?
Let me think. It had to be, oh my God, 6 months.
6 months?
Like, it was not that long because that was like senior year, and then that incident happened like the first New Year's of freshman year of college.
That's the best. That's the best. And did you go in his yearbook to any of like the women in your class that you might have felt threatened with and like put like, you know, like the devil teeth and horns on them, or like give them dumb glasses or graffiti on their face?
I did with the boyfriend before that. With him, I like wasn't that concerned, but the one before, I was like, you know, drawing on all the thoughts.
That's always such a fun thing that children do. They graffiti on like the hot girl in your grades thing, as if to be like, there you go. Now you'll never be able to see her as anything but this witch with glasses and weird teeth. And you're like, oh, I guess, you know? It always was funny though, because I used to remember people getting so upset. It was such a big deal of like, will you sign my yearbook? When will you sign it? Where will you sign it? And like being upset at certain friends for being like, where did you didn't save me a front page? You got me back page? Like, are we even friends? Like, how many people did write in this yearbook? They just go, like, everyone writes KIT, you know, like, keep in touch. I'll talk to you over the summer. And then people write down their phone numbers and stuff. Man, I wish I still had that. I want to go through my old yearbooks now. That would be great.
That's so funny. I've never heard KIT because ours was Hags. Have a great summer.
Ah.
But it's like the same shit.
Yeah, KIT, Hags, ILU, you know, all that kind of stuff. I love that I love you. People go ILU, but it's like, it should be ILY, right?
Yes, I've never seen an ILU, to be honest. TBH. So.
Oh, look at us, little acronym gang here, huh? Well, that's all I got. So let's get into. You brought some news stories with you.
Yeah, I did. Let's see. I really just want to start with this one. So that headline, and let me know if you've seen this already, but this 6th grader gave a classmate the Heimlich and saved a woman from a fire in one day.
How old?
6th grade, 11 years old.
What? I did not hear anything about this.
Yes. An 11-year-old boy from Oklahoma is being honored for his heroism after he saved a choking classmate and rescued a woman from a house fire in one day.
Now, what 11 years old, Oklahoma? Okay, so first thing that comes to my mind, which is maybe a little cynical, the kid started the fire. You know what I mean? Like, I think the kid, probably the Heimlich was real. You know, maybe his dad's like a paramedic or something, taught him the Heimlich. Maybe his dad's a lifeguard. I don't know. And he taught him the Heimlich. He got to use it, saved a person, got all that praise, got all that, like, you're a good person, and then got addicted to that feeling and was like, I'm going to save a motherfucker from a goddamn house fire right now. And by the way, and then threw down the goddamn house fire thing, which I feel like is a pretty, you know, there was a kid in my grade that, or I should say a kid on my block I grew up with that, I was just talking about this to Erica a couple days ago, and I had to text my friend, because you ever have those memories where you're like, there was some kids on my block that went to different schools than me, and you just didn't know much about them, but you just knew, like, they were like, you know, they were like troubled. You know what I mean? Like, there was like a troubled kid. Like, there was this kid named Bo. I don't know anything about him. I don't know his last name. I don't know when he moved. I don't know anything. But he was like a problem child on our block. And I remember he was always like a bad kid, like people would always say. But the more that you get older, you're like, he wasn't a bad kid. Like the kid just came from a broken home. You know, like that's the thing. It's like, are there such thing as evil people, Nicole? Because I'm feeling like the more as I get older, the more I'm realizing like every evil person is just like a broken person. Like it's like there's like a roadmap for everyone and why they turned out the way they did. Like I get more sad than angry at like evil people as I get older, because this kid Bo, right? I remember being so young and I was at a birthday party like across the street from his house. And I was at my buddy Jacob's birthday party, and like we like heard sirens and everything. And then we went outside and this kid's house was on fire. This kid Bo's house was on fire. And he was just sitting on the curb. I'll never forget it. I could see this so clearly. This kid was sitting on the curb by himself, just hands, face on his hands on his knees, middle of summer, just like despondent and like looking, had his back to the house fire, like had his back to it, like not a worry. And so a part of me, I remember even then being like, why is this kid alone? Like, where is this kid's family? Like, I don't know, maybe the fire department had taken and were questioning the parents somewhere else or whatever, and this kid was just alone. But I'm like, imagine not looking at your house burning down. Like, this kid was just, it struck me as so sad at the time, but people, and then they were like, Bo burned his house down. Bo's a fucking crazy guy and burned his house down. So I had this memory, and I texted my buddy Matt, because he also grew up on the block, and I go, do you remember, I'm going to actually pull up the text. I go, do you remember that kid Bo? And like, and he goes, yeah, I remember Bo. And I go, now this kid had, I told him the whole story that I just told you guys. And I go, did he start the fire, or is that just some memory that I had that wasn't real or whatever the fuck? And this is what he writes back. He goes, funny enough, we were starting fires in his house prior to that. So basically, in a way, we did start the fire, as we were a group of pyros for all intents and purposes, even though I only lived there on weekends at the time. So it turns out the Bo did burn his house down. The Bo was a fucking lunatic. He burned his house down. But also, I asked him about Bo's family. I was like, what was the deal with this kid? Was he like a bad kid, or did he just come from a broken home? And he told me, he was like, he came from a broken home. His house was like in terrible condition. His parents weren't around. And you're like, I don't even know how that's possible. Like how that, like, of course the kid's going to get bored and start fires. Everybody started fires as a kid. Like I had a fire phase. Did you have a fire phase, Nicole?
I didn't really, but I do have to ask. So you're watching this happen like from a birthday party of other children. Like he's across the street with his house burning down, like looking really sad outside.
Yeah. And I would peg us in elementary school. We were definitely in elementary school at the time. And I wasn't like, I didn't really know who Bo was. And I also remember, I feel like the kid was double sad because he wasn't invited to the kid's birthday across the street and everyone's like having a good time. And meanwhile, this kid's alone starting fires and his house is burning down. And so, that's kind of like the vibe that was Bo. And I don't know what happened to him. I wish I knew his last name and could look him up. If anyone knows House Burnin' Bo, just let me know if he turned out okay or if he's in a cell somewhere. I mean, I hope he's okay. I mean, again, the takeaway of this was very sad. It wasn't like, oh, he's like a lunatic, the Joker. It's like this kid, even in elementary school, I'm like, oh, that poor kid. Like even then I knew, I was like, there's pity, like there's something going on here. So, so I don't know. All of that said, leave a 5-star review. If you haven't, please do it. That'd be nice, Spread this message of hope. Let's get this episode to Bo. Can we? I will not rest until this podcast reaches Bo wherever he is in the world right now. He might have been one of those people that started those LA fires that lasted for 8 months. I don't know. I mean, if he did, that's kind of like a crowning achievement. Good for him. But leave a comment. Go to youtube.com/MikeFeeney That's where all these videos premiere every single week. We got great graphics. Nicole's cooking up every single week, so check those out. We go to we could just record this audio and not put out video, but we put out video for you guys. So make the best of it. While you're driving to work, listen to the podcast. When you go home, you're chilling, you're cleaning, put it on YouTube. Do that kind of a thing. Watch my special Rage Against the Routine. Listen to Here's a Scenario, my other podcast with Mike Cannon and Brendan Sagalow. Very funny podcast. Comes out every single Wednesday, anywhere you get your podcast. You can also go to patreon.com/scenariopod, where we give you 2 bonus episodes of the podcast a week, plus a bonus Snarky every single week that I just go off rant topics based off of what you as a Patreon member say or suggest. So it's a great time. Have fun. Get up there. You can get on there as little as $5 a month. Twitch.tv/NYFreshmaker. If you don't love video games and you like me, I think you'll still have a good time. There's plenty of people who hang out in the chat who are not gamers, but they just appreciate the hang. And that's what it is. It's me and a bunch of other comics. Anyone from Shuli Egar, Brendan Sagalow, Louis J. Gomez, Tim Butterly, Ian Fidance. We all hang out. I play with all of them at various points. We play video games together. We talk shit. We have fun. We get silly. People are stoned. We're having a good time. So just get on that, twitch.tv/NYFreshmaker. It's free to follow if you want to hang out, be a little voyeur, and come party. It's a nice little fun community we're building on there. And you should absolutely make sure you follow Nicole, who is our producer extraordinaire, and you can find her at
Nicole C. Lyons on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. This cocktail is absolutely getting added to the rotation. It's delicious, Nicole.
It's really good.
It's very good. Outside of that, I don't think I have. I'm going to be at Uncle Vinny's. Let me see when this is. I might already have been at Uncle Vinny's by the time. Regardless, just check my website, MikeFeeneyComedy.com. That's where I'll have all my tour dates. I'm trying to get to a bunch of new cities and states this year. So if you have cities that you want me to come to, if you have, places that you're like, I want to see you come perform at my comedy club. I got some pals that we can all come out. Hit me up, message me, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Let me know. And also, hit up that club. If you go to that club regularly, when you go there, they always leave comment cards. They always go like that. Be like, hey, we love this guy, Mike Feeney. Just do like that. Even if there's one of you that does it, that plants a little seeds. That way, when I reach out to them, boom, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that name. People have asked about him. And there you go. And then I'm there, and then we're all having a good time. And if you want to submit, I forgot to do this the last at least 3 episodes. Go to snarkypodcast@gmail.com. Send an email of topics you want me to talk about, rant, because again, sometimes we don't have enough to get through an episode. So we just have to talk about driveways and burning down Bo. And so that's it. So, send your topics, things that you think, things that annoy you, everyday things you think will annoy me, vice versa, some crazy stories. Send them all. snarkypodcast@gmail.com. Now let's get back to the show. And Nicole, you got some more. So let's get back into this Oklahoma kid. So I'm sorry, I went on a real sad tirade there about Bo, but the 11-year-old Oklahoma kid. Now, what's that kid? Is he being rewarded with some kind? Does he have a social media that already has 1 million followers? What's his deal?
I'm so glad you asked, because this is probably like one of the funnier parts of this article to me. It says that he was named an honorary member of both the sheriff's office and the police force at the ripe age of 11.
I love that. Yeah, he's like a little deputy. He's just got a little badge with the teddy bears on it and stuff like that. Good for him. I mean, that guy is going to be in civil service at some point, whether it's like a police or an officer of the courts, he's going to do something for the people. You can't do something that good at 11, get so much praise, and then be like, now I'm going to be a criminal. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, he's already got the dopamine rush of being a good guy. I mean, I want to know who taught a kid the Heimlich maneuver. That's what I want to know.
He said he learned it on YouTube. But the second funniest part about this is that they're calling the Heimlich maneuver an abdominal thrust, which I didn't know is what that is.
Did Tom Heimlich rape somebody or something and it came out and now he got canceled? Did we cancel Heimlich? Is that what happened? Oh no, is Heimlich a Nazi sympathizer or something like that? Did he oh no, an abdominal thrust? That sounds like a sexual assault. That would cancel Tom Heimlich. That seems like that would be the thing. Tom Heimlich no longer named the Heimlich maneuver after abdominally thrusting onto a woman against her will after slipping a Spanish fly in her drink,
Yeah, there are a lot of big questions in this. So the person that he saved with the Heimlich maneuver is a fellow student who was trying to open his water bottle with his teeth and choked on the cap of the water bottle.
See, now, a little upset. Here because gotta let that kid die. You know, like, listen, I understand if that's your kid for sure. You're like, there's hope. He can get smarter. He ain't gonna get smarter. Kid's dumb. Kid's opening water bottles with his teeth, like Brendan Sagalow. So he's just not a guy who should, Brendan has evaded death in a way in which no one understands. He's like a magician. He's like Mr. Magoo. You know how Mr. Magoo walks off a high rise that's still under construction, falls 26 stories and gets looped back in and then like lands on a trampoline into a pillow factory or something like that. That's Brendan's life. He somehow skirted the odds of death. But this kid at 11 who needs the Heimlich on him because he's also, it's like, sure, you open it with your teeth, which is already like dumb, but you open it with your teeth, and then what? You tried to swallow it? Like, why is it in your throat that it needed to? Why was it lodged so far back? The only way to lodge it is to attempt to swallow, okay? And I understand I'm going pretty hard on an 11-year-old kid right now, but I never choked on a water. The only time I ever came close to death with choking was I got a slice of pizza with my aunt. She brought me to this pizzeria. It was super hot, and they go, don't eat it yet. And I was like, I know better than you. And I took a huge bite of the pizza, and the cheese, the giant form of cheese, went down my throat and got lodged in there, and I was choking in a thing, and then my aunt had to like lunge over the table, and then I eventually, spit it up. But that was a food base. That was meant to be swallowed originally. It just was too much of it because it was too hot. But this person is just swallowing bottle caps. I mean, again, I talked about Darwinism recently. We gotta let the dumb die, I mean, it sounds cold. I understand we need dumb people because, who else would fucking clean up dog shit or whatever? I don't know, not dog shit. I was trying to think of a job off the top of my head that was low enough for dumb people to do, but not insulting to a certain worker. You know what I mean? Like, Nicole, what's a job that you're like, this is meant for dumb people? Right? Hard to do while you're talking, So I'm trying to think, what's a job that only dumb people should do? I'm not talking low education people. I'm not talking about the unfortunate. I'm talking about dumb people. What's a job for the dumb? Now, here's a good job that not always dumb people, I don't think dumb people do it. And that's not everybody who does this is dumb, but it's a good job for dumb people. Is being a garbage man. Because being a garbage man, you make crazy money. Like, I know garbage men who make more money than some accountants that I know. Because they're union, they get paid crazy money. And all you have to do is like pick up, put in thing, pick up, put in thing, smash thing, pick up, put in thing. That's it. I mean, it's a pretty simple, if you're dumb, that's a pretty simple job, And again, I'm not saying all garbage men are dumb. I'm saying a dumb garbage man could succeed just as well, in terms of that. Nicole, please confirm that.
Yeah, sure. The only other thing I could think of would be maybe starting a podcast. It's the only other job for dumb people. The folded arms is so funny.
What's next, Nicole?
I choked on pasta in college. And this is probably
pasta. Now I gotta know what type of pasta.
I don't cavatappi or some shit. I don't know.
Cavatil?
Nope. Cavatappi.
Cavatappi?
Like the curly one. They're like this big and like spiral. Anyways, this is just going to show you how passive I truly am because I didn't tell anyone I was choking and I just silently stood up and went to the bathroom for 45 minutes until I like regurgitated the pasta.
All right.
No one checked on me also, which is just a sad note.
Thank God. Well, they didn't check on you because it was an Olive Garden and you were alone and it was your birthday. So now you're alone at Olive Garden on your birthday choking on pasta. You go to the bathroom. Now, how al dente was this pasta? Because pasta You don't even need teeth to eat pasta for the most part. So how did it get lodged? You got a swirly spiral. I don't think the name of what you said. I've never heard of the name of the pasta you said, by the way.
Cavatappi.
Cavatappi, Toapyi.
Tappi.
Tappi. All right. Well, we're gonna get to the bottom of this right fucking now. It is absolutely a pasta. But cavatappi. But this looks like like an artisanal macaroni and cheese would be this way. How old were you?
I was in college, so probably like 20 or something.
How do you choke? How did you choke on it? Like so obviously it was a little al dente or something that caught you off guard. How many people were you with?
My entire lacrosse team. No one said anything.
I never knew you played lacrosse.
Yeah, you did. You knew that.
I guess I did. I totally knew that. So you played lacrosse. For sure. We all
wasn't
knew
some
that.
herb in college.
Yeah. Boy, if you watched last episode, this episode really pays off. These episodes pay off in twos.
It's a series.
Yeah, they definitely don't pay off a standalone, but when it is a series, they are fucking the linear progression of the story. Now, you choked on it with your entire lacrosse team, and then you walked to the bed 45 minutes, which is interesting because you and my dad have something in common. My dad has been prone to choking on food, specifically meats that are overcooked. So, like for instance, this happened when I was a child. Him and I were on vacation. We were in Arizona. I think maybe Scottsdale, Arizona, or something like that. I don't remember why we were there. I don't remember why my mom wasn't there. It was definitely like pre-divorce, but like it was in the cards. The divorce was coming. And so my dad and I were in Arizona. We went to this rawhide steakhouse place or whatever. I remember this big Texas looking thing in Arizona, and we got all this food. My dad got a steak. My dad took one bite of it. It was too dry, and it got caught like in this weird spot where not like obstructed breathing, but it feels like something stuck in your throat, kind of like in your what is it? Epiglottal? What's the word?
Glottis?
Epiglottis? All right.
Maybe.
Sure.
Dermis?
No, epidermis is your skin. But yeah, let's say in your esophagus somewhere, whatever the hell. So he was like, he would have to like go to the bathroom and like try and like essentially spit and wait for it to like come out. And and then I think after like 40 minutes, and meanwhile, I'm like a child at a table by myself, and like the server keeps coming over being like, how you doing? How's everything going? Like I finished my meal long ago. I'm like, I don't know. My dad's in the bathroom, I guess. I don't know. And then they're like, is he okay? I go, I don't know. I'll go check on him. What am I supposed to do? I'm a fucking kid, And then we had to drive back to the hotel. My dad was still kind of like feeling it, like choking on it a little bit. And I was too young to drive. So my dad was like driving in the dark in Arizona while choking, while being like dry heaving out the window every few minutes. And I'm like, are you good? He's like, yeah, whatever. Like that kind of a thing. Real tough Mick, that Irishman, So that's happened a few times. So you're choking now on pasta, which again, can't even fathom that, because the longer the pasta stays, the more saliva hits it, the more it breaks down. I don't know. Did it scratch your throat? And maybe that was what was happening? What was going on with the pasta?
I don't know. I must have just been like inhaling it, and it was just building up. And I also just remembered an even more like passive thing that I did was I was in the bathroom like panicking and not telling anyone. I was like, what do I do? Like, do I try and give myself the Heimlich by like sprinting into a toilet? Like, what do I do? So I was just pulling trig.
An abdominal thrust, if you will?
Yes, an abdominal thrust like to myself. So I was just like pulling trig. But then when other people would come to the bathroom, since this was like the public dining hall, I would just stop and then sit there and choke in silence and pretend that I was just like going to the bathroom.
Yeah, just red face. You're like, I'd rather them think I have IBS than that I'm dying. And that's a fun thing to be like, sorry guys, it's a tough thing. Now, did you ever, like, how did it eventually come unlodged?
I don't even remember. I was just doing everything I could possibly do, like pulling trig, drinking out of the sink, like everything. And it took a long ass time, but eventually it just like passed. And sadly, this has happened more than one time.
Maybe you have the same thing that my dad has, because it got like, it was a long time in the bathroom. And then what they wanted to do for him is they were like, I swear to God, this was like a absolute medical thing that they advised to him, was to essentially drop like what looked like a little medical sword down his throat with balloons, and they would like inflate the balloons and find the problem area. Like it was like this ridiculously primitive, like just become a sword swallower. We'll figure it out and we'll get to the bottom of why you're having all these issues. And he was like, I'm good. And so as long as his steak doesn't come out medium well or more, he's a good time. But sometimes he'll catch one and then it's a bad time. But that's pretty crazy. When's the most recent time it's happened to you?
Not in a while, but I'm too paranoid to ever eat without any type of drink because I'm scared it'll happen.
Yeah, well, there you go. Look at that. Good thing I gave you soup earlier and not some sort of dry chicken or something like that. We wouldn't have an episode today.
I only eat liquids. That's it.
Ah, all right. Do you have any more stories?
I have 2.
Oh, perfect.
You can choose between scorpions or giant rats.
Let's get into the scorpions thing because I just realized I have a giant thing about Verizon that I need to fucking get into immediately. You know what? Fuck the scorpions. We're talking about Verizon. I'm in a fucking war. I forgot about this 2 episodes ago. I'm in a war. I'm in a war with Verizon, and I need everybody to sound off and help me on this. This is fucking crazy. So, Erica and I have, at the time, iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro. We're living a life. We're happy. We're happy as little clams, you know? We're little Cape Cod clams. We're happy people. And Verizon reaches out to like, you can get the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 Pro, and we'll give you $1,000 for your 2 phones to trade them back in. And if you look at the math on that, the cost of these new phones are cheaper than they were at the time they made the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. So you will actually, Erica will pay nothing to get a brand new phone. I will pay like $3 a month. So our bill will go down about $80 a month to get brand new phones. So we're like, oh, well, obviously, of course. So they were like, this is a promotion that's only available right now for Verizon. So we had 1 month left on our contract. So first we had to pay off the rest of our phone, which was like whatever it was, an extra like, $40 a person or whatever the hell. Then we go to the Verizon store. We're like, we're ready to upgrade. And they go, oh, no. The Verizon store is not the same upgrade as the Verizon online. So the guy's like, I wouldn't upgrade here if I were you. We don't have the same deals. We won't give you up to $1,000. You should do that deal online. The guy literally talked me out of a sale in the store to go do it online. So I go, okay. I call them on the phone. They set me up. New iPhone 13. New iPhone 13 Pro. Then they go, while we got you here, you can get a new iPad. And I go, our iPad is like 10 years old. It's cracked. It's so slow. The battery sucks on it. We could potentially use a new iPad. And they go, we can get you a $450 iPad for $200 now because you're buying all this other shit. And I go, sign me up, Johnny. So we get a new iPad as well. We get the new phones. We set them up. They give us the boxes to return the phones in with the shipping labels. I go, can we drop these off to a Verizon, which is 3 blocks from me? Nope. Have to mail them back. Okay. Wipe the phones, put the thing on them, put the little box, put the shipping label. Erica takes them, drops them off at UPS. They go, it's going to take 1 to 2 billing cycles to reflect the $1,000 credit. Fine. January comes, and I'm noticing our bill is like $365 a month or something crazy that I'm like, what? Like it should be so cheap. So I'm freaking out. I go, why the fuck is our bill this bad? I call Verizon. It takes over an hour to get anybody on the phone. So first off, and then I'm waiting for Verizon. I go, what the fuck's going on? Why is our bill so high? This is crazy. You got to fix this. You got to credit us. We sent the phones back in October. It's January. What's happening? And they go, oh yeah, we sent an email and saying that we never got the phones, which by the way, the email they sent it to was not the email associated with our account. It was an email. It was like a spam email account that Erica had in like high school that hasn't been active in so long. It was a Yahoo account. It hadn't been active in so long that when she logged in after they said that, she had no emails because Yahoo wiped everything thinking that this isn't even an active email account anymore. So there's no trace that they ever emailed us. So they go, we never got the phones. And I go, well, I don't know what to tell you. We sent them in. And they go, do you have any proof you sent them in? And I go, we don't have the receipt from 3 months later. I mean, who has the receipt? Then I'm realizing Erica's like, I saved the tracking numbers that Verizon sent us. I saved them from the shipping label that came with the packages. So I go, we're fucking saved, bingo, bango, bongo. And I go and I tell them they're reading the shipping label and they go, those mean nothing. And I go, what do you mean? They go, those shipping labels have never been scanned. They never got scanned at the UPS store. So you have to figure it out with UPS. So I go, okay. So we go to the UPS store the next day and I go, hey, where's my package? This whole thing. We mailed the package back in October. Remember us? And can we please have the thing? And they go, we don't have anything here. And I go, well, now this is a problem because I'm going to need to take, there's like 6 security tapes. I'm like, I'm going to need to get security tapes from October sometime in the second week of October because who remembers the exact fucking day. I'm going to need to go through security tapes because otherwise I'm going to get law enforcement involved because we're talking about a larceny here because this is a petty larceny because this is a fucking $1,000 a phone. It's a thing that you're talking about. I need just proof that Erica physically dropped them off and then that's it. And then UPS can reimburse us. And they go, oh, no, sorry, no, let's not involve police. He goes, I will like sign an affidavit. I will notarize a thing saying that you dropped off the thing because sometimes when we're busy, we put packages to the side. We don't scan them right away. And then at the end of the day, sometimes things go out without getting scanned and they get lost. And that's just how it happens. It's COVID, blah, blah, blah. It's COVID. My wife's dead, all this other shit, So I go, okay, great. So I go back to Verizon. I talk to Verizon. They're like, we're going to figure this out because the same situation happened to my mom, but she did have an email saying that it was shipped. So they were like, we credited your mom. We're going to figure yours out too. And she's like, let's get to the bottom of this. And I go, and she goes, oh, there's no scanning. There's no signatures. There's no nothing. And I go, yeah, but we dropped it off. And she goes, yeah, but we don't know that. And I go, well, I have the UPS store guy who is willing to tell me that he did it. So like, I have the UPS guy. So can you just, I've been a Verizon customer since I was in high school. Like it's been like, 15, 20 years at this point. Or I'm like, it's been 15 years. Not that long. I'm not that old. It's been like 12 to 15 years. So I was like, I've been a Verizon customer this long. Obviously, I'm not stealing phones from you. Also, you can go and look at my iPhone 11, trying to find my iPhone. I don't have it anymore. You can't trace it to my house. So like, obviously, I don't have it. And they go, there's nothing we can do. It's over. You just have to pay this money. So I'm fucked, I guess, is what the situation is. So now my bill is just going to be $300 plus a month. So I signed up. I only got a new phone because they insisted that I could do it and it would save me $80 a month. But they wouldn't let me do it in person, so I had to mail it to them, which now it got lost in the mail, and now I'm super fucked. And they're like, well, you can go to UPS and file a claim, but there's no claim that it was ever scanned because there's no other receipt because it was never shipped. So there's no proof outside of those goddamn cameras, and they're not going to give me the cameras, and they're going to tell me the cameras are already expired. So I don't know what the fuck. If anybody knows what I can do, I'm fucked. I mean, I think the only thing I can do is I'm starting to like shop around. I'm going to T-Mobile and be like, will you buy me out of my contract and give me $1,000? Because Verizon told me, even if you get the money from UPS, we will not honor your deal. Oh, and here's the other thing. It's the iPad, instead of it being $250, they're charging me $450 for it because the coupon is no longer honored because I didn't mail the phones back. So we're totally fucked. So fuck you, Verizon. And if someone knows how I could fix this situation, please help. Because right now I'm just paying an exorbitant amount of money for 2 cell phones and an iPad, which I don't know what to do. And I'm pissed because secretly, I don't want to leave Verizon. I've been on Verizon forever. They're good. They're good to me. It's good to build trust. But at this point, it's like, you can't give me the benefit of the doubt this one time during COVID that everything, my wife's dead, for God's sakes. I mean, you can't even help me out here. It's brutal. Nicole, I haven't told you any of this. Isn't this a fuck show?
yeah, this is horrible, and now I have raging anxiety because I'm supposed to take my router from Verizon to UPS tomorrow, and now I don't know if I want to do that.
Here's what you do. You not only get the receipt and hold on to the receipt, because that's something that Erica didn't do because they were so busy scanning things and putting them aside. They were like, okay, we got it, thank you. And she didn't think to do that, which of course now forever she's scarred by that and she feels terrible about it. So grab the receipt. And also, if I were you, I would film you dropping it off and putting it in their hands and them going like, goodbye, this is UPS, we have our package now, and walking away, because they will fuck you. And it's like, all you asked me to do was drop it off at the UPS store. And that's what we did. And now I'm responsible for that it got lost in the warehouse. Some asshole, either at the UPS store or somewhere along the way, sold the 2 packages, probably sold the phones, made $1,000 each. And now I'm paying $300 goddamn dollars a month for it instead of saving money, which is the whole reason I wanted to do it anyway. My phones were fine. I didn't need new phones. I was totally fine with the phone. It was only because of them. And then they wouldn't let me drop it off in the goddamn store. I'm pissed. I'm furious. Help me. Someone figure out what the fuck to do with my Verizon. If anybody knows anybody at UPS that can open up a claim or some sort of a thing, even though the claim can't really be opened because that was never scanned in, so the tracking number doesn't mean anything anymore. And also the UPS guy that said he was going to help me out took the tracking number, so he took the only evidence that I have, but I guess it doesn't matter because those things didn't sign into anything anyway. So I'm just super fucked. I'm pissed about it. I hate Verizon. I hate everybody. But I got a new phone, and the phone's pretty cool, and I'm paying an exorbitant amount of money for it, and that's the goddamn show, everybody, all right? Listen, sometimes it leaves with cliffhangers, and that's what we're up to. This has been a wild, loose Drunkcast from, from the jump, and thank you all for watching. Thanks for being here. We're going to figure out the Verizon saga, as I'll update you as it continues, and until next week, tell a friend. Bye.